Buckle up, everyone, because today we're climbing high into the world of fighter jets and international intrigue, ready to do a deep dive on Operation Valentine.
Sounds intense.
It is. We're talking about a film based on, well, you can say some of the most significant events in recent Indian history. Operation Valentine takes on the Pulwama Attack and the Balakot Air Strikes.
Definitely a story that grabbed global headlines when it happened.
No kidding. And we've got a great review of the movie itself to unpack. But, we're going deeper. We're going to see how Operation Valentine tries to bring this really charged chapter of history to the big screen.
It's got to be a challenge for filmmakers, right? You've got this, super high-stakes story, an event that, it's emotional, it's intense, and then they've got to translate that into something that's, well, compelling, but also stays true to what happened.
Absolutely. So before we get into the movie itself, I think it's worth, setting the scene a bit for anyone who maybe needs a refresher on the actual events.
Good idea.
Okay. So, 2019, the Pulwama Attack. This was a devastating terrorist attack on an Indian security convoy. It was a major turning point. And in response, India launched the Balakot Air Strikes, targeting a militant camp across the border.
It sent shockwaves, really. I mean, you're talking about a moment that kind of reshaped India's political landscape and, of course, deeply affected people on a personal level.
Absolutely. It was a moment of national reckoning, and Operation Valentine, it really leans into that atmosphere. It's aiming to show that patriotism and bravery that came out of those events.
I bet that makes for a powerful story.
Yeah, and it's definitely sparked a lot of conversation. I mean, the reviews, they're all over the place. Some critics were blown away by the action, especially that dogfight scene over the Himalayas.
I'd imagine that'd be pretty intense on the big screen.
Oh, yeah. People are saying it's visually stunning, incredibly tense. But then, some critics felt like the movie maybe got a little too caught up in the action and didn't really dive deep enough into the really complicated geopolitical stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I see that. It's a tough line to walk. You want to give audiences that thrilling experience, but with a real-world international conflict like this, there's just so much nuance. So how do you balance that? It's something the filmmakers, they had to wrestle with.
Right. And it's interesting, both of the lead actors, Varun and Manushi, Chhillar, this is actually their debut in this new film industry. It's their first time acting in this setting.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Can you imagine jumping into such a high-profile, emotionally charged project as your first role ever?
That's a trial by fire, if I ever heard one.
Totally. Talk about pressure.
Speaking of taking on a challenge, I did read that they went all out on the technical side of things to make the movie feel authentic. Like the production design, they really tried to meticulously recreate the time period.
Makes sense.
And from what I've heard, those aerial combat scenes are supposed to be incredibly realistic. They even used actual fighter jet footage.
Ooh. So no green screens for those shots, huh?
Sounds like it. Pretty impressive.
Definitely. And, we got to talk about the soundtrack, right? I mean, they went and released the Patriotic Vande Mataram single at the Wagah border.
Oh, wow. You couldn't pick a more symbolic place, really.
Exactly. And it just adds to that emotional weight of the whole film. That song choice, that location, it all feels deliberate. It's about tapping into those really core themes of patriotism, right?
For sure. It's like they're using the music to really drive those themes home.
Absolutely. Now, for our listeners who might want to dig a little deeper into, the movie itself, the different reviews, the audience reactions, all that, MovieKaTicket's got you covered.
Tons of great stuff on there to check out.
Oh, yeah. Tons of reviews, discussions, really great resource for getting those different perspectives. So, where does that leave us? We've got a historical event that, really shook a nation. We've got a film trying to capture it all. And, a whole spectrum of opinions on how well it did.
It's almost more than just a movie, right?
It really makes you think.
Right. It makes you think about the power of cinema, the impact it can have.
Totally.
Does a film like Operation Valentine, even with, some people loving it, some not so much, can it actually shape how people see those historical events, those international relationships? And if it can, then, that puts a lot of responsibility on the filmmaker's shoulders, right? It's not just entertainment anymore. It's something we should all probably think about.